حكومة مسؤولة وفاعلة. في عندنا 25 أذار نعتبره خط أحمر.
نحن ما حدا يلعب معنا.
Good afternoon on this Sunday, December 29th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Government officials and politicians bid farewell to former Minister Mohammed Shattah at Martyrs Square in downtown Beirut as he's laid to rest at the mausoleum of former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. At least 5 people are injured in an explosion near the military intelligence building in Sharqiya in Egypt. And at least 18 killed as a female suicide bomber sets off a blast in a train station in the Russian city of Volgograd. Government officials and politicians bid farewell to former Minister Mohammed Shattah at Martyrs Square in downtown Beirut as he was laid to rest at the mausoleum of former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. Shattah, who was 62 years old, was killed in a car bomb on Friday, along with 6 others, including 16-year-old Mohammed Shahar. The explosion also wounded 71 people. The veteran diplomat, who was also former Prime Minister Saad, to a meeting of the March 14 coalition at Hariri's residence in Beirut. Seen as a moderate figure in the March 14 coalition and the Sunni community, Shattah was a former finance minister and a former ambassador to the United States. Hariri blamed Hezbollah for Shattah's assassination, while the March 14 coalition has accused Syria and its allies in Lebanon for the killing. Hezbollah MP Hussein Moussawi responded to accusations against the party, saying hasty allegations only harm stability. On the line with us is Future Movement MP and economist Ghazi Youssef. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Youssef.
You're welcome.
Maronite Patriarch Bashar al-Ra'i has condemned Mohammed Shattah's assassination, saying Lebanon's Christmas celebrations were tarnished by the assassination of a peaceful figure. And he added on Twitter that his death is a major blow to the whole of the country. What do you think?
I do believe it's a blow to the country because Mohammed Shattah was really not only a moderate figure, a Sunni moderate figure, but he was really a value added to this country in terms of his strategic thinking, in terms of always trying to find solutions to problems that seem so difficult and hard to solve. He always had an angle to find a way for people to talk together, to sit down and negotiate and try to reach a solution which is a win-win to everybody. I think this is that's what Lebanon really needed. Not only us as a group in the Future Movement or in terms of March 14th movement, we needed a person like Mohammed Shattah to really take us through the hard times which we're facing today. We miss him. We really miss his very precious advice. We really miss his views about the future of Lebanon, about how Lebanon can fit in this area, in this turbulent area today. That's what we're missing.
And this assassination could not come at a worse time for the country. The repercussions of the Syrian war are being felt with the Syrian refugees. There have been many bombs this year alone, many deaths. And he follows the footsteps of what happened to Martyr Wissam al-Hassan last year. So what kind of message do you think this is? Mr. Hariri said that this was another terrorist message addressed to us, to the Free People of Lebanon and the Future Movement specifically, and the March 14 forces. Do you think it's another message, a terrorist message?
I think it's more than a message. I mean, the assassination of Mr. Shattah is more than a message to our movement. It is clearly an attempt to diffuse any movement towards a solution, towards forming a government, towards making Lebanon a country for everybody. Mohammed, before his death, for the last couple of months, was working on a paper that he wanted all politicians to try and chip in with their thoughts and their support for it, which is basically one based on the neutrality of Lebanon. He knows, and his thinking was such that even if we form a new government, and even if we elect a new president, would that be a solution for the future of Lebanon? His answer was no. The only way we could really get Lebanon on the right path, on the path towards a peaceful place for everybody to live in, is to take it out of the conflict in the area.
So you're talking about, I'm sorry to interrupt, you're talking about the Badda Declaration, and you're talking about Resolution 1701, to be specific?
Exactly. He did not see any other solution for us but that. It is not in the best interest of the opposing party to us, 8th of March, to talk about these things. They want Lebanon to still be a fertile area for the conflict. They want still to intervene in Syria. They want us to be part of the greater Mumana, the Syrian-Iranian coalition. And Mohammed's thoughts were against that. As simple as that.
So moving forward into the new year, after everything that Lebanon has been through in 2013, there have been reports that there are more assassinations to come and more things of similarity to follow. What do you think? And it seems like every single time this happens, there are no follow-ups. It's business as usual after a few weeks.
It is, what you're saying is correct. We know that we are targeted towards more assassinations. We're not afraid if they think that by killing a figure as precious to us and to Lebanon as Mohammed Shattah would cause us to be afraid and not to continue calling for a better Lebanon, a democratic Lebanon, a free Lebanon. This is something that we're not going to stop working for. As far as the follow-up, the only follow-up is our thought. Our policy is not changing. We're talking to everybody. We're talking to the whole world. We're talking to whomever would listen to us. We are not armed, and by no means, or even getting close to thinking about us being behind an armed conflict in Lebanon. We do not retaliate by killing others. The only thing we could do is to try and move towards a better Lebanon.
And to keep, basically,
a peaceful Lebanon.
Basically, to keep with the plan and try to implement the plan. Absolutely. And try to get the international community to listen.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Youssef. We look forward to talking to you next year. Coming up next, French President François Hollande is in Saudi Arabia for talks on the Mideast crisis. That and more after we return. Welcome back. The head of the Future Bloc, MP Fouad Sanyoura, is vowing to confront the presence of legitimate arms in Lebanon in a clear reference to Hezbollah during the funeral procession of former Minister Mohammed Shattah, who was laid to rest this morning. Sanyoura added, quote, "We will not surrender, back down, or fear criminals, terrorists, and murderers. They are the ones who should be in fear." In his speech at the funeral procession following prayers at the mosque, Sanyoura said Shattah was killed with cold blood without shame or hesitation, saying the perpetrators repeat their crimes, thinking they will get away with it. The coalition, Sanyoura says, rejects bullying, terrorism, extremism, and violence of any kind. On the phone with us is civil society activist Sara Assaf. Mrs. Assaf, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Yuna.
Hi. I know that you had seen Mr. Mohammed Shattah recently, and he had talked to you about the plan, and I'm going to bring it to the Wall Street Journal letter, which he openly wrote to Tehran. Can you tell me, how was your last encounter with Mr. Shattah?
Yes, we met actually over lunch, and he talked to us about his plan. He explained to us his vision, how he sees that, March 14th coalition should move in order to counter the hegemony of Hezbollah in Lebanon. And his plan was about neutralizing Lebanon and trying to put pressure on Iran and on Hezbollah in order to ultimately, what he wanted really is peace in Lebanon. His plan was not really confrontational. It was more a very rational plan that is aiming ultimately to neutralize Lebanon, to separate the cause of Lebanon from what's happening in Syria, because today the link is too strong, and what's happening in Syria can take a lot of time, and we don't know where it might head. And so what he wanted was to neutralize Lebanon and to put pressure and to reach a point where Hezbollah would actually disarm.
Mrs. Assaf, Hezbollah described on Friday the assassination of former finance minister Mr. Mohammed Shattah as heinous and said that it only benefits the enemies of Lebanon. What do you think is in it if you do believe that Hezbollah is behind this assassination? What is in it for Hezbollah?
My answer is Hezbollah said the same when Hariri was killed also. It was the same. Hezbollah had a statement that is very similar to that statement. So
you believe that they are behind all of these assassination of the March 14 figures. Am I correct?
I'm going to do like Hezbollah does. Hezbollah, whenever when one of them is targeted, they directly accuse Israel because they know previous history shows that Israel kills members of Hezbollah. So I'm going to do the same. There's a special tribunal for Lebanon, and this special tribunal indicts 5 members of Hezbollah.
But why would Hezbollah want all these people dead? Especially, they called Mr. Mohammed Shattah a symbol of moderation and a great addition and value to Lebanon. What is it in there for them?
Actually, I have a problem with this. The way everyone is positioning Mohammed Shattah today. Mohammed Shattah was not just moderate and decent and tolerant. He was also a thinker. He was a strategist. He had a vision, a character, and a plan. What's more important is the plan that Mohammed Shattah had. So Mohammed Shattah was tolerant in the way he speaks. He had smooth styles, but he was very radical in his political beliefs. And if you read the letter that
he wrote in the Wall Street Journal,
exactly, himself. He says at the end of the letter, he says, and I have the letter in front of me, he says the vision and roadmap may seem radical considering that Lebanon has not seen full and exclusive control by the state over its territory and over all weapons in 4 decades, but these are also the basic natural rights of any country that seeks to be free and independent. He himself talks about his letter. He says this letter is a radical one. So it's very different. We need to differentiate between saying that Mohammed Shattah has a moderate, if you want, his style, his way of speaking is moderate, but his views and his political beliefs, he's a hardliner, are very radical.
And you think this could have sealed his fate? And the last tweet that he posted on Twitter, which was basically condemning Hezbollah's arms as well?
Exactly. And I think the first thing that we need to do is actually to translate this letter to Arabic and to have everyone read this letter, because this letter was posted just today and it should be available to everyone, to all Lebanese. They need to read it because when they read it, they'll understand exactly why Mohammed Shattah was killed.
The Wall Street Journal letter that Ms. Sarah Assaf is talking about is called Mohammed Shattah's Open Letter to Tehran. It's available everywhere now and is online wherever you are, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, or even if you Google Wall Street Journal and look at the op-eds. Thank you so much for being with us, Ms. Sarah Assaf, today.
No. Bye.
In other world news, Israeli military has fired a barrage of shells into Lebanon in retaliation to 2 rocket attacks fired from across the border earlier in the day. UNIFIL and the Lebanese army arrived to the site of the shell attack where a number of Syrian refugees and Lebanese farmers reside. The attack did not cause material damage nor loss of life. However, UNIFIL urged both countries to exercise maximum restraint in order to prevent any escalation of the situation. At least 5 people have been injured in an explosion near the military intelligence building in Sharqiya in Egypt's Nile Delta, the 3rd bombing on the mainland in less than a week. State television says the explosion was caused by a car bomb. The army says the intelligence building was partly damaged by the blast. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. A female suicide bomber set off a blast in a train station in the southern Russian city of Volgograd, killing at least 18. News reports and officials said the city of Volgograd, known as Stalingrad in the Soviet era, was attacked in October by another female suicide bomber with links to groups fighting federal forces in Russia's volatile North Caucasus. And French President François Hollande is in Saudi Arabia to meet with Saudi leaders on crises in the Middle East, as well as to discuss economic ties between the two. Hollande is slated to sit down with King Abdullah in a desert region north of the capital city of Riyadh and is accompanied by top cabinet members, including Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius. He will also meet with former Lebanese Premier Saad Hariri and Syrian opposition leader Ahmed Jarba. On this note, we end our bulletin for today. Let me remind you of our top stories. Government officials and politicians bid farewell to former Minister Mohammed Shattah on Martyr Square in downtown Beirut as he is laid to rest at the mausoleum of former PM Rafiq Hariri. At least 5 people are injured in an explosion near the military intelligence building in Sharqiya in Egypt. And at least 18 are killed as a female suicide bomber sets off a blast in a train station in the Russian city of Volgograd. These end our news stories for this Sunday. Please be safe for the next week and happy holidays.
نحن بحاجة إلى حكومة مسؤولة وفاعلة. في عندنا 25 أذار نعتبره خط أحمر.
نحن ما حدا يلعب معنا.